So we're recording, okay? This is lesson 4.5. It's pretty simple, just so you guys know. The most important thing is that you just memorize these steps and follow the steps, and it's really quite simple. I think you're going to be fine, okay? Off to the side of this, you guys, I want you to write the words critical numbers type 1. When I see you guys on Friday, right, we're going to do critical numbers type 2, which will be a little bit more difficult than critical numbers type 1, okay? So what makes these problems critical numbers type 1? Two things that you need to look for, okay? You have to have an x squared or larger. Or larger means larger exponent. So it could be a third or a fourth or anything like that. The second thing it has to have is an inequality. Okay, so if you look at example 1, you guys see how you have an x squared and then you have a greater than, that makes it a critical numbers type 1. I really think that the toughest part of this problem, two biggest, most difficult parts, number 1, identifying that it's critical numbers type 1. Number 2, remembering the steps. Doing it is a breeze, okay? So step number 1, get a 0 on the right. Step number 2, factor. Step number 3, find your critical numbers. Step number 4, find the number line. And then once you find your number line, you just have to test, change that to test regions, okay? And then write your answer, okay? So here we go, nice and slowly with question number 1, okay? Step number 1, get a 0 on the right-hand side, done, okay? Step number 2 is to factor. So the x a second is going to go to an x and an x. The 6 is going to go to a 3 and a 2. Signs are different. The biggest is a negative, so the 3 is a negative and the 2 is a positive. Okay, so I had a 0 on the right and I factored. Now the next thing is to come up with my critical numbers. Okay, so all you do, guys, is set that equal to 0 and you get x equals 3. Set that equal to 0 and you get a negative 2. So those are your critical numbers. Okay, now you go to a number line. Over here on the left you put a negative 2. Over here on the right you put a positive 3. On my circles, do you see on this inequality right here, you guys? Bless you. How wow. Wow. Do you always do that? My sister does this. I'm like, sneeze. So it should be in the middle of hers and yours, right? Would be appropriate. That's where most people are, right? Okay, back to the math here, right? No equal sign, okay? Open circle. And now we have to test our regions, okay? So grab your calculator and let's test. So the place that I think you need to plug it into, guys, is right there, right before you factor. That's the easiest place, okay? So test the left region, say like a negative 3. So everybody go negative 3, store, enter. Then put in the yellow. So you go membar, enter, x squared, minus membar, enter, minus 6, enter, and you get a positive 6. So all I need you to do on this number line is just put a plus right there. That's all I need you to do. Testing the middle region is easier because like a 0's in there, right? So listen, watch how fast, you guys. 0, store, enter, up, up, enter, and you got a negative. And then on the right, 4, store, enter, up, up, enter, and you get a positive. So that's simple, okay? You're looking for where the numbers are greater than 0. Greater than 0 means positive. So grab your highlighter and highlight here and here. And then I want you to write your answer, which is negative infinity to negative 2 with a parenthesis, union 3 to infinity. Everything's closed with parentheses, you guys, because I don't have any closed circles. That's my answer in interval form, and I'm done. Okay? I want you to add something right above this problem. This is important. It will help you to get these things right. Okay, so just add a little asterisk, okay, and say this. Signs will always alternate. unless there is an even power. Okay? So do you see the x minus 3, how it has a first? And do you see the x plus 2, how it has a first? I don't have any squares or fourths or sixes. So once I have this plus, then I'm like sure it's going to go plus minus plus. I'm a little OCD, so I always just still take the time to check it, and I would recommend that you do that, but just know that that's what's going to happen. Okay? Okay, here we go with question number B, nice and slowly, okay? Step number 1, get a 0 on the right-hand side. So you're going to have 2x to the second plus 5x plus 2 is less than or equal to 0. That's step 1. Step number 2 is to factor. So it's going to go to a 2x and a plain x. Two things that multiply together to give me 2 are 2 and 1. Signs are the same, they're both positive, so it factors like that. Okay? So I set it equal to 0, I factored. Now my next step is to come up with the critical numbers. If I set 2x plus 1 equal to 0, you guys, the 1 comes over and becomes a negative, and you divide by 2, so negative 1/2. Set x plus 2 equal to 0, and you get a negative 2. Okay? Now go to that number line. So you have a negative 2 on the left, because it's the smallest, a negative 1/2 on the right. This time I do have a closed circle because I have an equal sign. Okay, now I'm going to test my region. So on the left-hand side, negative 3. Everybody go negative 3, store, enter. And the place, please remember the place I want you to plug it in, guys, is right before you factor. So right there is the best place to put it. So everybody go 2, membar, enter, x squared, plus 5, membar, enter, plus 2, enter, and I get a positive 5. So look what I'm going to do. I'm going to go positive. Now, I don't have any squareds. This is first and this is first. So I'm sure it's going to go minus plus. Take just a second and let's double check. A number in that region, negative 1. Everybody go negative 1, store, enter, up, up, enter, negative. To the right of negative 1/2, like a 0, 0, store, enter, up, up, enter, positive. So I'm good. Okay. I want to know where it's less than 0. That would be negative. So it's here. So my answer in interval form is negative 2 with a bracket to negative 1/2 with a bracket. And there's my answer. Who says easy? Let me see up high. Okay, yay. Okay, question C. Question C, I'm going to throw a couple of different scenarios at you, so I'm going to add some things to it. So just kind of write small and know we're going to add some stuff there, okay? Okay, so step number 1, pull your 4 over. So x to the second plus 4x plus 4 is greater than 0, okay? Step number 2 is to factor. So it goes to an x and an x. Signs are the same, they're both positive. 2 and 2 multiply to give me 4 and add to give me 4. Okay, yes sir? Yeah. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just set it on my desk. That's great. You can leave it like that. You could also write it as x plus 2 to the second power, whatever you want. Okay? After you set it equals 0 and then factor, the next step is to come up with your critical numbers. So your critical numbers, you only have one, and it's x equals negative 2. So just put a slash right in the center and put a negative 2. Okay? There's no equal sign, so it's open. And now this could be kind of funny because we have a squared, we only have one critical number, so we definitely need to take the time to plug things in, okay? So the place I'm going to plug it in is right before I factor, okay? Let's do a negative 3, so the left side. Negative 3, store, enter, membar, enter, x squared, plus 4, membar, enter, plus 4, enter, and I get a positive. It's a 1. You don't have to write the number, just put the sign. Please make sure you put the sign though, okay? To the right of the negative 2, like a 0. 0, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I got another positive, okay? Now let's look at what they're asking. They want to know when it's greater than 0. Greater than 0 means positive, right? So I'm going to shade here, and I'm going to shade here. So, is the answer all real numbers? Is that what it is? It's not. It's everything except, tell me, negative 2, right? So it's going to be negative infinity to negative 2 with a parenthesis, union negative 2 to infinity with a parenthesis, and that's it. Okay? Now I want to throw a couple more scenarios at you, okay? Okay, so let's just go like this, okay? So what if you had this? What if you had x plus 2 to the second is greater than or equal to 0? So what if it was the same exact problem, but now we have an equal sign, right? So I just took this and I go here. Yeah, let's graph it really fast, right? So negative 2 will actually now be closed. My signs won't change. It's still going to be plus plus. Greater than means positive. And then what did you guys say? A lot of you guys knew it. All real numbers. But if they want it in interval form, how do I write that? Negative infinity to infinity. Good. We're going to do two more scenarios. So try to squish this in, okay? What if we had this? What if we had x plus 2 squared is less than 0? So same equation, but now it's a less than. Okay, write this down for me because you never know what they're going to throw at you. Okay, so you've got your negative 2. The circle's going to be open because we don't have an equal sign, right? Your signs are still plus plus. Less than means I'm looking for the negatives, but there are no negatives. What's the answer? Why is it not that negative 2 though? I've got a negative 2 there. It's not a solution, right? It's an open circle. So this would be no solution. Okay, one more scenario I want to throw, and then we're going to the next one. Okay, x plus 2 squared is less than or equal to 0. Draw your number line. Go to the negative 2. I have an equal sign, so it's closed. Still going to be plus plus. What's the answer? It is negative 2. How do you think you write that in interval form? It's a little awkward.
Negative bracket, negative 2, comma, negative 2.
It is. It is. So it's negative 2 with a bracket to negative 2 with a bracket. Awkward, but that just means x equals negative 2. Okay? So there's some funny scenarios that could happen. Just roll with it and you'll be fine. Okay? Okay, here's question D, you guys. The second I look at that, I kind of cringe just a little bit, and I'm like, ugh. What is it that makes us cringe when we look at that?
Numbers in front of the quadratic.
Well, you've got a number in the front, but there's something that's even bigger than the number. It's the sign. Yeah. Please, please, please never try to factor this with a negative sitting out there, okay? You're going to make the problem 10 times harder if you do. I'm not exaggerating, okay? So get rid of it. How to get rid of it? Factor it out. The step number 1 is to get a 0 on the right, which we have. Step number 2 is to factor. I'm taking out a negative. Is there anything else I could take out? I can take out a 3, right? When I take out a negative 3, it's going to change all these signs, okay? So negative, negative, positive is going to go to positive, positive, negative, okay? Fill in that less than or equal to 0. And now I don't have to worry about the signs anymore. I can just do the numbers. So 3 divided by 3 is a 1, x squared. 3 divided by 3 is a 1x. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay? If you're not sure if you did that right, just distribute it back through in your head and make sure you got what you get up above. Okay? I'm going to keep factoring. So it's going to go to an x and an x. The 2 is going to split to a 2 and a 1. Signs are different. Biggest is the positive. So the 2 is the positive and the 1 is the negative. Okay, what's my next step? Get it equal to 0, factor, try not to look. What's the next thing? Critical numbers. Good. So critical numbers, x equals. I want to ask you something. Do you have a question, honey?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All of these problems, you know how you have the inequality sign and the 0 when you're going down? If we forget that, will we get
Probably not. If it's me, a little. Because it's like writing an English paper and you have no conclusion. Or writing a sentence and you didn't finish your sentence. You know what I mean? Would your English teacher mark you down? Yeah. So try really hard to do it. Because I'll ding you a little. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I have a question for you. Good question, Brooklyn. Okay. See this negative 3 right here? Does that give me a critical number? Yes or no? It does not, because -3 is not 0, okay? Can't ever be a 0. So true or false? Listen to this question. No matter what's out there in front of the parentheses, I can always disregard it and it will never give me a critical number. True or false? False, because if what's out there, X out there will give me a 0. Good, I don't have that scenario right now, but it could happen. So that gives me X equals 1, X equals -2. Okay, go to your number line. -2 on the left, +1 on the right. I have an equal sign, so my circles are going to be closed. The best place to plug it in, the easiest for you, is right before you start factoring, which actually is the first part of the problem. Okay, I don't have any squareds, so I'm thinking this is going to go plus minus plus plus minus. It's going to alternate, right? Left side, let's do a -3. -3, store, enter. Plug it in. -3, membar, enter, x squared. -3, membar, enter. +6, enter, and you have a negative. So I'm really thinking, you guys, it's going to be negative, positive, negative. Checking the next two regions, literally, I can do it in under 30 seconds. So I would just test it, okay? In the center, 0. 0, store, enter, up, enter, positive. To the right, 2, store, enter, up, enter, negative. Got it, okay? Greater than 0 means positive. So I'm looking here. So in interval form, my answer is -2 with a bracket to a +1 with a bracket, and that's my answer. Okay? Let me throw one thing at you right here. If they asked you to put it in set builder notation, okay, those are the only two they really ever ask for, interval or set builder. So set builder would be a brace, and then an X such that. How do I write this? Down here, it would be -2 is less than or equal to X is less than or equal to 1, close it off, and there you go, okay? So that would be set builder, and the other one is interval, okay? All right. Question 2 and 3 and 4, and then we're done, okay? Okay, here's question 2. You guys don't say anything for a second. I want you to think of the steps that we're supposed to solve. Okay, look at the original problem. Think of what step 1 is. Did they do step 1? Think of what step 2 is. Did they do step 2? Think of what step 3 is. Did they do step 3? Then I look at step 4, step 5, and I think that might be it. I don't know if there's 5 or 6, but anyway. Do you see where they messed up? Okay, right here, I want you to write a note to yourself, and I want you to say, this is a common error. Remember at the beginning of this lesson, I told you the math is easy. It's the steps that are going to mess you up, okay? Everybody in the room, I want you to talk to me. What is step 1 without peeking? Get a 0. Did they do that correctly? Yeah, it was initially done, right? Step number 2, tell me what that is. Factor. Did they do that correctly? Yes. What is step number 3? Critical numbers. Did they do that? They did not do critical numbers. So this right here is wrong. Okay? So from that second step, let's finish it correctly now, okay? The critical numbers are X equals 5 and -2. Then you go to that number line. On the left, you have a -2. On the right, you have a 5. I don't have an equal sign, so my circles are opened. Nothing is raised to an even power, so I'm certainly expecting my signs to alternate. Okay. Left of a -2 is a -3. Where am I going to plug it in? Right before they factor. Okay. So everybody go -3, store, enter. Membar, enter, x squared. -3, membar, enter. -10, enter, and I get a positive. So I'm thinking this is going to be positive, negative, positive. If I were you, I'd fill them in right then. And then let's go back and just make sure. In between a -2 and a 5 is a 0. You guys, I can look at that equation, and I can tell that if x is 0, I'm going to get a negative number. because this would go away and this would go away and end up with a negative 10. That's a negative, so I don't even plug that in. To the right, 6 store, enter, up, up, enter. I did get a positive. I want to know where it's greater than 0. That would be here and here. So my answer is negative infinity to negative 2 with a parenthesis. Please don't forget the u. Then it goes 5 to infinity. There's my answer, and I'm done. This is probably the #1 most common mistake people make right here. Okay, I want to talk to you for a second. Look right here and listen. Okay, I want to explain why this is wrong. Okay, look. If you have some number, that's what that is. That's a number. And you multiply it by another number, and you get something greater than 0. What that says is, here's a number, here's a number. I multiply those together, and I get a positive. Does that mean this is positive and this is positive? Does it mean that? No. Why not? They could both be negative. Yes. So just because two numbers multiply together to give you something positive, that doesn't mean they're both positive. You don't know that. They could also both be negative. Okay? Who says, I understand what you just said? Raise your hand. Let me see. Okay. Good. Okay, question 3. A company has found that from the revenue from the sales of, I want you to add in the word toy tractors, okay, is a function of the unit price in dollars that it charges. If the revenue in dollars is this, for what range of prices will the revenue exceed 9,000? Okay, so they want to know when this revenue is going to exceed 9,000. Okay, so let's write this down. Everybody go negative. You guys, 1/4 is exactly 0.25. Can I write that down, 0.25? Sure, fits exactly, you bet. So negative 0.25, p to the second, plus 4,750p exceeds, what am I going to put in place of exceeds? Greater than, yep, 9,000. So this is a critical numbers type 1. How do we know that? I have a big exponent and an inequality. Step number 1, get a 0. So I'm going to go negative 0.25 p to the second plus 4,750p minus 9,000 is greater than 0. Now I have to try to solve that. Would you sit and try to factor it?
No.
I never would. We could also complete the square. I would never do that. What's the best? Quadratic formula, right? Everybody write P equals negative 4,750 plus or minus the square root. Now I'm going to break a rule that I told you never to break. I told you never write this as something squared. But 4,750 is going to be huge. And the reason it messes you up is if it's a negative, and it's not. So we're going to go 4,750 squared. I don't want you to do that very often, okay? Minus 4 times A, which is negative 0.25, times C, which is negative 9,000, all over 2 times negative 0.25, okay? Now, we're going to round this to the nearest cent because we're talking about money. So if they tell us we're rounding, we can go straight into the calculator, okay? So I want you to add parentheses here and here, okay? And then grab your calculator, okay? Let's make sure you know how to do it. Stick right with me, okay? Everybody go parenthesis, negative 4750 plus second x squared, 4750 x squared minus 4 parenthesis, negative 0.25 close parenthesis, new parenthesis, negative 9,000. Stop right there. How many closes do we need? Do you remember? 3. Good. Close, close, close. Divided by parenthesis, 2 times negative 0.25, close it, enter, and I've got P equals 1.89. rounded to near cents, right? These are toy tractors. Everybody hit up, right, until you're on top of the plus. Make it a minus, hit enter, and now you get $18,998.11. Okay, now this is a critical numbers problem, so we're not done. Go to your number line. Left-hand side, 1.89. Right-hand side, 18,998.11. It's supposed to exceed, so it can't be equal to, so it's going to be open. You guys, look how I could do this. Well, I don't know if anything's squared. Nothing's squared, but anyway. If I put in a 0, I know I'm going to get a negative. Where's the 0? Here. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be negative, positive, negative. Let's test. To the left of the 1.98 is a 0. Everybody go 0, store, enter. Then go negative 0.25, membar, enter, x squared, plus 4750, membar, enter, minus 9,000, enter, and I got a negative. In between, in the middle of that, I'm going to do a 2. 2, store, enter, up, enter, I got a positive. To the right of 18,000, I'm going to do 20,000, store, enter, up, enter, and I got a negative. They want it to exceed, so that is here. You guys, this is a word problem, so it doesn't make sense to write it in interval form. So we're going to say between $1.89 and $18,998.11. That's your answer. So that $18,000 toy tractor is like a collector's. Someone really rich bought it. Okay? Okay, example 4, and then we're done. Okay? Given f of x and g of x, for what values of x is the graph of g above the graph of f? Okay, everybody write g down. 3x minus x squared. There's your g. You want it to be above f of x. X to the second minus 3x minus 8. What's another word what could I put in there for above? Greater than. Yeah. Toughest part, I think, is to recognize it's a critical numbers problem. Okay? Even though you're going to get a negative x squared, I always want you to pull these to the left. Everybody write that down. Say, always move everything to the left. If you move it to the right, it's going to cause you problems, so let's just not. Okay? See this x squared? It comes over and becomes a negative. See the 3x? It comes over and becomes a positive. See the negative 8? It comes over and becomes a positive. So now I have a negative 2x to the second, a plus 6x, and a plus 8. Brooklyn, do you see how confusing it would be if I didn't finish my line? That line's not done. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? So if you don't put the greater than 0, it's going to mess you up. You're going to get confused. Okay? I look at the x squared and I see a negative and I'm like, I'm not doing that. Get rid of that. 2, 6, and 8, 2 goes into all those things. So I'm going to take out a negative 2. When you take out a negative, the signs all change. So they go from negative, positive, positive to positive, negative, negative. Okay, now forget about the signs and just worry about the number in the variable. So 2 divided by 2 is a 1x squared. 6 divided by 2 is a 3x. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Keep going and factor. So it goes to x and x. The 4 goes to a 4 and a 1. Signs are different. Biggest is a negative. So the 4 is a negative and the 1's a positive. What do I do now? Critical numbers. Good. The negative 2 gives you nothing. The plus 1 gives you a minus 1. The minus 4 gives me a positive 4. Okay? Go to your number line. Negative 1 on the left. Positive 4 on the right. I have no equal sign. So it's going to be open. I don't have any squares or fourths or any kind of even power, so I'm thinking these are going to alternate. To the left of a -1, like a -2. Everybody go -2, store, enter. And the place I'm going to put it in, I think sometimes people put it in the wrong spot. That's where you need to put it, right there. So go -2, membar, enter, x squared, +6, membar, enter, +8, enter, and I got a negative. So this is negative, positive, negative. You have to have the signs there, okay? You can go through and test them. 0, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I got a positive. Do a 5, 5, store, enter, up, up, enter, you get a negative. I'm looking for greater than 0, that would be positive. So my answer is -1 with a parenthesis to 4 with a parenthesis, and there's my answer. Okay?